Welcome to the Lights Camera Pro podcast, where we interview entertainment pros about their careers and how they became successful in the industry. The secrets to their success here every week. Here's your host, Sean Ventura.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Lights Camera Pro podcast. I'm your host, Sean Ventura, and I just want to say subscribe to our YouTube page, like and share our Facebook page, and download at Apple and Google Podcasts. Our guest today is Mike Moore, a good friend of mine. He's a producer, director. He has worked for the NBA on TNT. He curates art shows. He does so many cool things. It's going to be great. All right, here we go. I'm here with my good friend Mike Moore. He is a director and a producer. He works for the NBA. He does art shows. He also works in music. He's going to tell you all about it. How's it going, Mike? Thanks for doing this, man. This is great.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Man, we spent a lot of hours in edit room working on different NBA stuff. But one of the things that I remember the most is Dikembe Mutombo and no.
Yeah. No.
Cracked us both up, man.
Yeah, man.
That was some funny shit. All right. So we'll just get into it. How did you know you wanted to work in TV?
Well, funny story, man. So I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And I was in junior college at the time, kind of had no idea, what I wanted to do in life, just kind of in college because, your parents want you to go to college when you graduate from high school.
Right.
So I'm in junior college and, I meet this girl that I'm interested in. Of course, it's all around the girl, right? Mm-hmm. So I meet this girl that I'm interested in and she was into still photography. Okay. So trying to impress her, I got into still photography. You know what I mean? I figured that could be a way that we could bond. And, so I picked up a camera and, I just started, trying to learn how to take pictures, would try to impress her with, some of the pictures and stuff I was taking. And out of that, of course, it never groomed into the relationship that I wanted, but I fell in love with still photography.
Right.
And so from still photography, being in Baltimore at the time, it wasn't a lot of creative outlets, so I started looking into some other colleges and stuff that I wanted to go to. And a group of friends that I was kind of hanging out with at the time were all about to move to Atlanta. Like Atlanta had just kind of jumped off. This was around the Freaknik years. Mm-hmm. And, it just became like this hot spot. And they were all about to relocate to Atlanta. So, I was like, man, I still want to, be able to hang with the crew. Like, how could I get to Atlanta? So I just started looking at colleges. And then, I had already knew about Clark Atlanta University. So I figured, hey, man, let me just apply, see what happens.
Right.
So I ended up applying and I got in. So literally, man, I probably found out that I was accepted in like November, December, and literally within a few weeks, I moved to Atlanta and started that first semester in January of 1996.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool, man.
So doing that, again, I had kind of just found this new passion in still photography and, I'm still kind of exploring it. They didn't really have a still photography major at Clark, but they had a mass communications, film and television major. So I said, it's similar, let me jump into that and, just kind of see how that is, and they had a photography department at the school, but you kind of had to be in the mass comm department in order to take advantage of it. Okay. So pretty much, man, just being involved in still photography kind of led me into, my career in television production. Very close similarities between still photography and video. Right. Just composition, exposure, framing, just kind of similar techniques that you could apply to both. So it kind of was just like a natural transition from my love for still photography into doing film and video.
Right. Okay, so where do you go from there? So you're a mass comm major. Do you make some short films? Or are you on like a fake TV set at the station? You know what I mean? Like
So it's funny, man. Like at that time, you know, I was also very big into hip hop.
Okay.
So we had like a hip hop group, you know, that we had formed, kind of, you know, some of my friends from college. And so, you know, I would kind of shoot like, you know, some of the music videos and stuff. So I kind of got into that. You know, I never really went the short film route at that time. It was more like music videos and kind of stuff like that. So that really kind of like honed my craft into like, you know, the whole kind of production world. And so pretty much, you know, I graduated from Clark, and, you know, as soon as I graduated, man, I was, you know, kind of up in the air. Am I going to go back to Baltimore? Am I going to stay in Atlanta? And I forgot exactly how it happened, but I believe maybe one of my professors at Clark had told me about like some job openings at CNN. So I just happened to apply for, you know, these job openings at CNN, and literally like I got hired right away, and probably within a month after graduating college, I got this job at CNN.
Wow.
So, you know what I mean? Like I started my career at CNN, and it was an editing position. So I started out, you know, as like an assistant editor, and, you know, that kind of got my foot in the door. And, you know, I've pretty much been with Turner ever since, man. This is 99, August of 99. I got
so
hired
what are you, 19
CNN.
years, 20 years?
At that time, I was 20. I'm sorry, I was 23 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 23 years old, 22, 23. So right out of college, you know what I mean? You know, I was a little bit older when I graduated because, like I said before, I had went to the community college first. So when I transferred to Clark, Atlanta, you know, you kind of lose a lot of those credits, and you're pretty much starting over. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know what I mean? Graduated.
So let me just ask you, because I did some music videos early on in my 20s and made some short films. Music videos are so much fun, man. We'll come back to CNN in a second, but did you do anything when you made, like, I remember a quick story. I remember shooting a music video for a band, and we went and the band played at this club, and they were kind of hardcore grungy. I don't even know, like punk or something. Yeah. And we just had a bunch of people with their cameras, and some of them were crappy little video cameras, some were film cameras, and just like 10 people shooting. And we'd go out in the street and shoot in New York City, sirens and I don't know, people walking and doing crazy stuff to intercut. I mean, do you remember like working with a band on one of them, or one of your music videos that came out really cool or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, man, a lot of that was experiment. You know, at that time, you know, we were all kind of these underground, you know, I guess what most people would consider kind of backpack rappers. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it was just more just, you know, kind of basic stuff. I mean, nothing during that time was anything super great. You know, I was, I guess, just at that time really more perfecting, you know, the craft and kind of experimenting a little bit more. So, you know, it probably wasn't till, you know, years later that I really got into it. You know, got a little more creative with it, that like, you know, and then of course at that time, you know, which is crazy to think, but you know, when I was in college, you know, around that time, you know, the internet had just came out. I mean, when I even started school, it wasn't no internet. Like, you know what I mean? Like literally the year I graduated in 99, that was the first year of Final Cut Pro. Cause I remember I was so mad because we were editing tape to tape. You know, all my years in school. And then the year I graduate is when Final Cut comes out, and everybody has this new digital technology. And it's just like, man, I spent all this money to learn tape to tape, and I had to teach my own self Final Cut because, you know, I was so late in the game. But like, you know, so pretty much, you know, just the whole technology and things with that, man, like, you know, back then it wasn't as, you know, creative as you could get now. So I kind of, you know, just had to like teach myself a lot of it. But, you know, it was something that I loved. Like I just really fell in love with capturing images. You know what I'm saying? Like that was just so intriguing.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at is a lot of people like I know Mike Thomas. I don't know if you know him. He worked at CNN on Larry King, and he was at Turner for a while doing stuff for Turner South and other stuff.
Yeah.
He said the first time he walked into a control room with all those monitors, and he was like, this is it. This is where I belong. I know this now, you know? And I kind of had that feeling too when I was making a short film. I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. I don't know what part of it, but this is what I want to do for my life.
Exactly, man.
And so you had that feeling capturing images?
Definitely, man, because for me, it was just a way to connect with people. You know, everybody wants to be in front of the camera, right? So, like, I was always, you know, the guy with the camera, the photographer, or, you know, shooting video, interviewing people. And I'm really getting more into, like, directing music videos, but, like, for clients and different bands throughout the city, like, you know, on a more professional level. This is kind of where I'm really growing into, like, my role as a director. So, and during those, you know, freelance years, you know, in the highlight department, you know, I just hustled my way up and got hired, you know, with multimedia and NBA.com.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that kind of transitioned me, you know, into that role. And then for my directing experience with doing all the music videos, that really, you know, gave me that, you know, confidence as a producer, director to, you know, be able to tell my story and, you know, create it from start to finish. And that really parlayed well into, you know, my role as when I started out, associate producer with NBA.com.
Right. And then eventually you directed some stuff for NBA.com, right? Or even TNT or NBATV?
So, you know, within, I'll say a year and a half, 2 years after getting hired on back full time, finally, with the Turner family, you know, I started out, like I just said, as an associate producer, and then, you know, just sheer hustle and luck, actually. You know, another coworker that I work with, you know, took a position with another department, so that opened up his position as a producer. And so, of course, I applied for it, I got it, and, you know, that's kind of when the opportunities really came for me to, like, go out and actually produce stories for players and come up with creative ideas and things like that. And, you know, it really kind of allowed me to, you know, kind of gain all the experience and stuff that I needed to become a successful producer, you know, at the NBA.
But do you have any stories from shoots or even post, but stories from the NBA being an all-star or something that really sticks out?
So like Exxon, like the one you mentioned that me and you worked on, you know, they started kind of putting me in that role to be in charge and to kind of create, you know, for that lane, which was perfect for me because, you know, you really got to, again, you know, kind of write the idea, come up with all the creative, and then go out and execute that into the finished product. So, you know, I would say right before the season ended, you know, I was working on a really cool one with Steve Nash, and it was actually a series for TNT. Okay. That, you know, they would run, you know, during their show, their weekly show on Inside the NBA. And, you know, so with Steve Nash hosting kind of like different players, you know, throughout the league. A lot of them are kind of guys he had relationships with. Like we did RJ Barrett, we did Mike D'Antoni, you know, we did Trae Young, John Morant together. We did Giannis. We did Anthony Davis, Devin Booker. So, you know, it was just a real cool experience, man, because, you know, I got to like travel to these different places with Steve and do these really cool and unique, you know, interviews that I produced. And, you know, it was just an awesome experience, man.
And
so,
what was Steve like? Was he kind of cool to work with? And
man, Steve is great, man.
Steve like the nicest guy?
Nicest guy, man. Super easy, super cool. You know, we ended up, you know, kind of really forming a great friendship, you know, throughout this process. But, you know, the one thing I really took away from this guy is like, man, like everybody respects Steve Nash. Like the mark that he left on the game, the way he played it, you know, everybody loves Steve Nash. So we're doing these interviews, man. And, you know, he was just so good with getting these guys to open up. You know, probably unlike, you know, not too many other people probably could have got these guys to open up the way he did. But, you know, former player, well respected, and you know, it showed. So it was just a great collaboration all together, man. And you know, I think it turned out really well.
Cool. And can people see that now, or are you gonna work on it and they're gonna show it later or something?
No, these are all online. You could go right to YouTube, and you could probably just do a search for like Steve Nash NBATV, and you'll see like the series, at least the ones, all of them.
Is there a name for the series or no?
It didn't have a name.
Okay.
It was just kind of like,
Steve Nash interviews, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they would kind of just, toss to it every week. This week, Steve Nash, sits down, you know what I mean? Because he's a part of the TNT family. So it really didn't have a specific name. But, you'll find them, and I think you'll easily be able to recognize the series. But
Can I just ask you, like, what was AD like, Anthony Davis? Because I love him. He just seems like the greatest guy.
He was great, super easy, man. Again, Steve really got him to open up, and I kind of felt like that was the good thing about it. You could tell like everybody who did it wanted to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like wanted to talk with Steve, or like, the one that we did with RJ was probably the coolest because, RJ's his godson.
Right.
So like we literally got to kick it with these dudes and like hang out and like, really kind of get to see, how close knit that relationship is. And, it was great. But, even when we did like Devin Booker, he had so much respect for Steve, of course. I remember like when he first came into the room, he was like, two-time, what's up, man? Talking about two-time, Nash being a two-time MVP. But that's just the way he referred to Nash. He just called him two-time. And like, you know what I'm saying? It was he had that respect, of course, being a new face of the franchise for the Phoenix Suns and sitting down with, a Phoenix Sun legend. So, I think that was special, man.
And do you remember, because we're going to move on to art and music in a second, but do you remember, because you've done so many different things, but do you remember just kind of like being at All-Star or playoffs, or because you did a lot of that stuff?
Oh, man, was it finals or All-Star? I can't remember, but I'm in the hallway, like right outside of the players' locker room. Tracy Morgan walks down the hall.
Yeah.
And it's this kid that walks up, and I guess Tracy Morgan, like, thinks it's Kendrick Lamar. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, yo, Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? And then the dude turns around and it's not Kendrick. And like just Tracy's reaction, man, was just priceless. But like just little moments like that, man. You know what I mean? Like,
That's so
another
cool.
time, right after I believe it was like a Cavs win or something in Cleveland. Like Chris Tucker came back and like joined the guys, and they were all like joking around and cracking jokes and, just special moments like that, you're just right there and, you're lucky to maybe get a little, video clip on your phone of it or something like that. But like, or like, one time, this was during the finals, we're shooting doing an interview for like Game Time or something. And literally, I look right beside me, and Ric Flair is standing right beside me. And if you know how big of a Ric Flair fan that I am,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, this dude is literally like, at like not even, an arm's length. I mean, literally right beside me, almost, touching shoulders. Right. And it's just like stuff like that, man. It's just like, wow, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's Ric Flair. You know what I mean? Like, so just
is
all
it
those
Superfly?
kind of experiences.
Or no, that's Jimmy Snuka. What is Ric Flair's nickname?
The Nature Boy.
Nature Boy.
Yeah,
Nature
man,
Boy.
Nature Boy. Woo! You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so I just got to give you a little break, and I'll tell you a little story here.
Yeah.
So you sent out a text or an email to come to this art show. And you never know what's going to happen with an art show, man. I went to school for art. I've been doing some painting in my life. I love art. And I said to my girlfriend, let's go check this out. And it was in a warehouse or something. And there was music, a DJ. And I just walked in there, dude. And there were like 20 different artists. And I was like, oh, man, thanks for inviting me. And you're like, no, I did this. I curated. I'm like, really? And there was food and drink. And the art was great. So talk a little bit about curating art shows, man. How do you do that? How do you come up with that?
Well, man, one of my passions outside of, film, television, that whole thing is art. You know, I love it. I've always been a fan of it. You know, just probably back from my days of just being into comics and, you know, that whole vibe. But like, you know, I love art, and I've just been blessed to be friends with a lot of really, really dope and talented, you know, artists. You know, so pretty much, you know, I just started kind of doing these art events just to kind of, you know, promote great art and, you know, get, you know, some of the creative, you know, artists in Atlanta together and, you know, do like, you know, really cool shows like that. And so, you know, it just kind of started out of my love for art, but now it's just grown into like a passion. You know, I'm a huge art collector, you know, something that I tell people, you know, that they should definitely invest in, you know, real estate and art, you know, like if you know, collect the right artists, I mean, man, like, you know, you could be sitting on a gold mine, you know, in a few years, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, you just kind of got to know how to navigate that world like anything. But, you know, one of my closest friends, you know, met him in college, but, you know, one of my best friends, you know, honestly, I just consider him a brother at this point, is Hebru Brantley. Right. You know, and he's, you know, probably one of the top artists, you know, in the world right now. Like, this dude is incredible, you know.
Yeah, I love his art, man. I'm a fan,
everybody,
huge fan.
You know? Yeah, exactly. So, you know, started off doing shows, and luckily guys like that, you know, were humble enough that, you know, we did a show with him back in 2015, like at Lowe's Hotel, you know. And at this time, you know, Hebru's big, you know, Jay-Z owns his work and all this stuff, you know. He didn't have to do a show with me. He's doing galleries all over the world. So I said, Hebru, man, you know, I want to do a show, you know, in Atlanta with you, you know, and he agreed to do it. So, you know, we got Lowe's Hotel. We did it in this cool kick-ass space at Lowe's, you know, and I mean, man, like over 3,000 people showed up for this show. You know what I'm saying? Like, we literally had a line out the door of people just waiting to get in here. And, you know, I would say that was probably one of the first shows that kind of really put me on a map as, you know, being able to curate and just do cool events. You know, and like I said, man, I'm just friends with all these artists, and they really know that I respect their craft. So I think more than anything, you know, some of these guys who most people would think are untouchable are my friends. You know what I'm saying? Because they see the passion that I have for it. And because of that passion, I've been able to acquire, you know, this great art collection because these guys just know I love it. You know, some of these guys selling pieces for thousands of dollars, you know, and have just been generous enough to be like, yo, Mike, you the homie. I want you to have this piece. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So let's talk about that real quick, because you did tell me that. You've got a couple of Hebru's pieces in your house?
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
cool,
definitely, man. And I mean, you know, Hebru, man, is such a creative guy, man. Like, I swear, like, this dude is like a guy that, and I always tell him this, like, I've never seen this dude lack creativity. Like, you know how people that write, you know, they say you can get writer's block. Yeah. I've never seen this. Like, this dude is just always creating. So, like, pretty much as he was ascending, you know, into this great artist that he is, he had moved back to Chicago from Atlanta at one point. But he had a son that he had in Atlanta that still lived in Atlanta. So every time Hebru would come back to Atlanta to visit his son, you know, he would just stay at my crib. You know what I mean? Like, my house was his house. And so, dude, you know, I go off to work, you know what I'm saying? He'd just be at the house, you know, chilling. And man, I come home and this dude had knocked out like 5 or 6 paintings in just this little bit of time. Right. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, he would just, hey man, you know, you keep that one, man. That one's for you. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, this is at the time when this dude is coming up, you know, and I just loved his work. I mean, of course, you know, even before everybody else caught on, I loved Hebru's work. But it's like, man, you know, he was just, you know, we just had that kind of relationship. You know what I mean? Like, I remember one time in a house that I had years ago, Hebru, a friend of mine had came over, another artist, you know, we were all drinking and, you know, got a little drunk. And so I told this artist, I gave him like a spray can. I was like, hey man, just do something on a wall in like this spare room that I had. It was like an office. So he like started to do this like little kind of like graffiti style piece, but he was so wasted, man. Like, it actually came out looking like shit. And so I gave him like plenty of times to come back and finish it, man. And he never came back to finish it. Oh, man. So one of these times Hebru came to stay with me, Hebru saw it, and Hebru was like, oh man, if he ain't gonna finish it, let me do something. Yeah. So I was like, all right, cool. So I went to work, and bro, I come home, and I ain't gonna lie, like at first I'm mad as shit, man. I come home, my house is smelling like fucking spray paint.
Yeah.
I'm like, Hebru, man, what the fuck you doing here? Like literally, like I couldn't even sleep, like, in the fucking house. Like the whole house just smelled like spray paint. But dude, in just this little bit of time, this dude had fucking did a mural pretty much in that whole room.
Wow.
That was so fucking crazy that it was like, I couldn't even be mad. It was like, at first I was in shock because I didn't think, he was going to do the whole fucking room. I thought he was just going to do this one little section. Right. This dude, like, and I swear to God, man, like, the shit was incredible. You know what I'm saying? Like, but just to say, like, this dude just doesn't stop, man. He just doesn't stop. I was recently in LA with him, because pretty much the whole series that we did with Steve Nash, we did them all in LA. Like, Steve wanted to, he wanted to stay in LA. He didn't want to do a whole bunch of traveling. So, I was back and forth out to LA this whole season, kind of doing these features with Steve. So Hebru lives in LA now. So, I would always find time, just to go kick it with him while I'm out there. And I mean, this dude just has like the next 15, 20 years of his whole life just mapped out in front of him. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like that Mamba mentality kind of vibe. Like, he doesn't stop. Like, this dude just had this big whiteboard in this one part of his studio, and literally, I mean, images of what the artwork is gonna look like, and I ain't trying to give away too many of his secrets here, but just he had it all planned out. And when I saw that dude, I was just blown away. I was like, bro, this is crazy. Like, this is why you win the way that you do, because you never stop thinking. Like, he literally had it, and you could see it. Like, it was just so visual. It's like, damn, bro, like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so and anyway, man, not trying to get sidetracked from the question. No.
It's cool, and I'll just say that, like, he is really the first. Yeah. And I don't know if maybe you showed me some of his stuff. Yeah, but I think I did. Yeah, I think you did. But he is really the first artist in my lifetime that I've liked in the same way that I liked Warhol or Sheila or Picasso. That I was like, okay, he's got these Tuskegee. How do you say it? Is it Tuskegee or Tuskegee? Tuskegee Airmen. Yeah, Tuskegee Airmen, this little boy, the fly boy, and he's got sculptures, and he does, like you said, the murals, and then he does all these superheroes. Exactly. And he has like different women who are African American. With I think that's the one that Jay-Z owns. Yeah. And he's got this clothing line. It's kind of like Chance the Rapper, and he works with Chance. Yeah. But like, he's got this clothing line, and people buy his clothes. And I mean, he is like the real deal, man. He's the most talented artist that I have seen in my lifetime that is alive. You know what I'm saying? Man.
I agree. And it's crazy because, like, when we met, he wasn't even doing art. He was a rapper. That's how we met. Like, we were in two different rap groups, but we were like friends with each other because we would perform at different shows and together, you know what I'm saying, within our groups. And that's how me and Hebru met and formed a bond. And he wasn't even an artist. It's like this developed years later, and he's just, his drive is so crazy that he's, you know what I'm saying, taking it to a whole nother level, man. But like, getting back to what you were asking me about the event. So like, it's just a passion of mine, and it's just something that I've always, liked to do. You know what I mean? And like, I just love it, man. I love being around these artists. I love seeing them create. I love putting it all together. I love seeing people's, reactions, when they come out. And, so me and a good friend of mine, by the name of Al Sharpton, he's more known probably for his dominance in the craft beer world. But we've partnered up on these events, and we do them, and like, we'll just bring all the components together. We'll get like a craft beer or liquor, sponsor to come in, and, we just bridge the gap, man. We
it's
make
like
it
an
fun.
event
Make it,
because a lot of art galleries you go into are small and they have 30 paintings. This is like 200 paintings and music and a DJ and
all those artists
beer.
For the one that you came to, they are all in galleries. and then some of the top galleries in Atlanta.
Wow.
And at the end of that show, man, so many of them came up to me and was like, dude, this was like so fun, man. This is like one of the best shows that I've done. Like, they're all tired of that. You know, they're tired of, you know, same old, okay, coming to a gallery, you know, from 7 to 10, white walls, paintings up, no music, a little table with some wine, and keep it moving. Like, you know, it's no vibe to that. You know what I mean? You know, and some people think, well, all that other stuff takes away from the art. But it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It actually makes you want to stay longer.
Totally
and the longer you stay, you know, the more apt you are to probably seeing something that you want to take home with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How is music a part of your life and your career?
I would say music is, you know, a big part, man. I think it's, you know, helped me out a lot. As I was saying earlier, man, like, you know, probably right around 2009, 2010, like I really got heavy into directing music videos. You know, not any major artists, but like at the time, a bunch of like, at least what I consider like really dope, you know, up and coming artists out of Atlanta. And so, you know, that kind of just got me into the game and like into like, you know, just really exploring like the music scene here in Atlanta, which I really think is incredible. And, you know, I kind of started off, you know, more in the hip hop realm, you know, doing, you know, just some stuff with like, you know, my man Four Eyes and Chaos and, you know, grand prize winners, you know what I'm saying? Like groups like that. And, you know, I kind of been doing like, you know, a bunch in that space. And I remember like I went to this one show at the, what was it? The Star Bar in Little Five Points.
Yeah.
And I saw this rock group called the Coat Hangers. It was an all-female rock group, man. They were fucking badass, killing it. And like, dude, I loved it. Like, I loved the energy. Like, they were just so raw and just so dope. And I remember approaching them, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I love your music, man. I would love to do a music video for y'all. And, you know, they gave me the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got this, you know, hip hop dude at the time, you know, dreadlocks and all, you know, coming up to them, you know, asking to produce one of their music videos. You know, I'm not really, you know, big into rock music, kind of like that, but like, I just love the vibe, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, they really were like one of the groups, man, that kind of really gave me my first break in that space. And like, you know, I owed them everything. And I ended up doing this video for the Co-Hangers called Hurricane. And to this day, man, like, it's probably one of the best, you know, videos or pieces of work period in my career that I've done. Like, this video is just fucking sick. And it's still like, anytime people see it today, it's funny. Like, I had someone text me a few weeks ago watching that video, like, yo, dude, like, I didn't know you directed this. This shit is badass. And like, and since then, that group has really gone on to blow up. Like, they're fucking like traveling all over the world and like in the, you know, punk rock, you know, indie rock kind of space. Like, they're fucking huge, you know what I mean? But like, they kind of gave me, you know, really one of my first big breaks. And from them, like, you know, I went on to work with like, you know, the Biters and Cousin Dan and like, you know, all these just really, really cool kind of punk rock groups, man, that like, you know, really opened my mind, because unlike the hip hop space, they allow you to get as creative as you fucking want. You know, hip hop, you know, a lot of times it's monotonous, you know, it's all about the cars and the girls and, you know what I'm saying? Same old shit, right? You know what I mean? And I've always tried to like think outside the box and like do shit a little more creative, you know, but just it gets a little hard because, you know, the hip hop space is so confined into like, you know, what it should look like, you know what I mean? But in the rock world, like, you could just go as crazy as you want. So to me, that really opened me up. It really got me like connected to the music scene here. And, you know, at that time, it was just a great experience. So like, that's kind of, you know, I don't do it as much, you know, anymore, only because, you know, I'm a family man now, 3 kids, you know what I mean? So it's hard to, you know, pull those late nighters, you know what I'm saying? Like I could 10 years ago, you know what I'm saying? When I was just free to do whatever I want. But, you know, it was just amazing, fun times, man, fun people. And, you know, I think that reel that I built up during that time is what, you know, has gotten me hired and gotten me consistent work kind of in that space because, you know, I mean, those videos still hold up to anything today, you know what I'm saying, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And to me, that just speaks, you know, the level of creativity and quality that, you know, I was able to produce, you know, back then, you know what I mean? So
let me ask you this, because while you were talking, I just pulled up the Coat Hangers Hurricane video on my phone.
Yeah.
Dude, it looks so cool. You're right. You're absolutely right. It looks great. What did you shoot it on?
Man, at that time, we shot that on,
9 years ago.
Yeah, 9 years ago. That was the Canon 5D. That's when like the 5D first came out.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was the Mark II. I think that was the original 5D. And that was when we shot it at the Goat Farm. And this is like when the Goat Farm just started kind of getting a name for themselves, man. And it was just way more raw and way more, you know, it just looked like a damn horror flick. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, so all that whole video was shot at the Goat Farm. And, you know, as you could see the energy that those girls brought, man, like I fucking love the Coat Hangers, man. Like to me, they're like,
so cool, man.
They are fucking awesome. Like, you know what I mean?
So
like,
cool.
Yeah, man. So back then my company was Studio 8. So, you know, we did like 3 videos, I think, for the Coat Hangers. That one went so well. Like I did the next 2 or 3 music videos for them.
It seems like a lot of your jobs, but also your outside work that was fun, like music videos and everything, was kind of like relationships that you built with friends and you made new friends. I mean, What is your advice to younger people wanting to get into being a producer or director, maybe work for the NBA, maybe work for music videos? What is your advice to them, or someone who wants to switch careers? Like, what is the most important thing? I've heard like adapt and reinvent and stuff like that. But what is your feeling on advice to those people?
My biggest thing, you know, would be to communicate. You know what I'm saying? I think that's probably one of my strongest gifts is just talking to people and communicating with people and not being afraid to just go up to people. You know, even in my work in the NBA, you know, I think what kind of sets me apart is, you know, I don't get starstruck by these players when I'm around them. You know, I talk to them just like me and you talking now. You know what I mean? And like, it's just the art of communication. And I think that that's one thing that I do really well in is, you know, and I can communicate with a broad audience. Like I said, I can communicate with the folks in the hood. I can communicate with the punk rockers. I can communicate with the athletes and entertainers. You know, just communication, man. You know, I grew up in a very kind of, you know, with my doing, you know what I'm saying, a diverse situation, you know? So I had friends of, you know, all races and people that were totally different from me in the way I grew up, you know, in Baltimore. But, you know, I for some reason, I always could respect people for who they are. I never judged anyone. And I think, you know, just learning how to communicate with people, man, like, you know, because that'll get you, in my opinion, further than anything. You know what I mean? Like, you could have the greatest skill level, but if you're not able to communicate that or get people to buy into what you're trying to do, then it's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? Or for me, you know, and I'm not knocking anything for me or, you know, trying to, you know, downplay myself, but I think, you know, am I the best shooter? Am I the best producer? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, probably not. But I feel like where I excel more than anything is communicating. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to get you to believe in what I want to do. And from that, I'll make all the rest happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's a talent, man. Not everybody can do that.
Exactly, man. You know, to me, that's my biggest thing, man. Communication, you know?
What about the art thing? Do you have a name of a company that does the art thing so people can find the art shows?
So, Always Open, all spelled with 2 L's, like always open.
Always open, okay. It's all good, man. It's been great talking to you today. It was great working with you in the past, and this has been awesome, man. So thank you so much for doing this.
Sean, I appreciate you, man. You already know you my brother, man. We've had so many great times together, man. You know, anything I could do to help support you in any way, man, you know I'm here, man. All you got to do is hit me up.
Awesome, man. All right, well, I'll talk to you soon, and I'll come see the next art show.
Sounds good, man.
Have a good one, Mike.
All right, you too, bro.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Lights Camera Pro podcast, where entertainment pros talk about how they made their dream into a career.
Subscribe to our YouTube page, like and share our Facebook page, and download at Apple and Google Podcasts. Thanks to Bob Juergens for the Rockin' VO and Joseph McDade for the music. Next week, we have my good friend Gary Friedman. He's a director, producer who worked for TCM. He's a great guy. He's got a ton of stories. Come on and check it out next week.